Polar vortex or hurricanes. Today we're going to talk about a bit of a compromise. I'm Adrienne, longtime Florida realtor, and I'm here to help you get your Florida life. Happy Wednesday, everyone. If you're new here, new videos come out every Wednesday. I do put out other videos occasionally or other notices throughout the week. If you're interested in seeing those, hit the notification bell and it will alert you. You can also just subscribe to follow along. Today we are talking about something that comes up a lot this time of year: polar vortex or hurricane. There are no hurricanes at this time of year. However, because we got hit in the summer, a lot of people who might be thinking about coming down here, it's on their mind. At the same time, every Florida realtor loves a good polar vortex. I cannot tell you exactly what a polar vortex is, just like I never know what Snowmageddon exactly is, but I know that it attracts people to our area. People like to buy houses when, in Florida when it's snowing up north. It's kind of, for a lot of people, I think of King Kong versus Godzilla. You don't really want either one in your city, but you might need to deal with one at some point, probably not, but it's a tough call for a lot of people. Now, I also deal with a lot of couples where the one person is saying, I'll take the cold, I'm scared of the hurricanes, and the other person is saying, you know what, I cannot do this cold anymore. There's got to be a way to live in Florida. Millions of people do it. How do they do it? This is what I'm going to talk about today. I feel like if you're watching this video, you have some interest in moving to Florida, but perhaps your problem is the hurricanes. I'm going to talk about what I would look for if this were my issue, or if it were my significant other's issue. Maybe some talking points you want to slide in there. Let's get started. We're going to start with neighborhoods I would look at if I were trying to lessen the risk of a hurricane. Now, hurricanes hit all over Florida. I can't say you won't get hit by a hurricane. However, as I've mentioned on this channel before, it is a media frenzy towards Florida when hurricanes hit. But when you look at the interior of the state, and I don't mean real far in, maybe 20 minutes from the coast, there are areas they don't ask us to evacuate at all. They say, sit in your house, put your shutters down, just stay where you are. Hide from wind, run from water is usually the advice that is given. So the first thing I would look for is a neighborhood that is an X or D flood zone. Those are the flood zones that they predict there is less risk. Now, there is a downside to this, and I'll get to that in a moment. But the other thing I would look at is an evacuation map. Almost every county has one. I will put up the one for Charlotte County. As you can see, there's green and yellow. Yellow was asked to evacuate during Milton. However, I don't know of anyone who had any damage in yellow during Milton. And also, I know people just didn't evacuate because it was kind of last minute. As you can see, though, these areas are all a little bit away from the coast. So that's kind of the downside. We have some great neighborhoods that are in green and X and D, but they tend to be what I think of as a little bit more suburban. You're further away from downtown. If you want to be close to a beach, it is unlikely that you are going to be in X or D, or it's unlikely that you are going to be, especially in green, evacuation. But for instance, if you go to the west of the Mayaca, where Welland Park is, the further you get in, you do get to yellow, you do get better evacuation areas. If you're afraid of that, the downside again is you are not going to be near good boating. You are not going to be near the beach. You're not going to be near, most of the downtowns are near the water. They're coastal cities. So you could be 15, 20 minutes from them. At the same time, you don't have to go way inland. Again, I'm talking 15, 20 minutes from where you want to be. Often you can get. Some examples around here are Deep Creek. I've done videos on them. Right next to Deep Creek is Section 15 and just the north part of Port Charlotte. Northport is there. Most of that, I should say, is an X and D. Sometimes you get near a body of water and it gets into AE, which is considered a flood, is what usually people talk about when they say a flood zone, that's what they're talking about. You do have to get flood insurance in AE if you get a mortgage. That being said, if you just want a water view, there are water views in X and D. We have lake views. These are man-made lakes. We have sometimes the smaller canals that are creek-like. The homes on them are X or D. You're not going to get a big boat in there, maybe a kayak, something to that effect, but you can do it. So if you're just trying to get away from the polar vortex and you want to be in the warmth, we have some very nice neighborhoods that are a little bit inland. Yes, you could get hit by a hurricane there, but it's not the same flooding. It's not the same situation as being right on the coast. Nothing is perfect. As far as a house, I'm going to give you some things you might want to look for. And there's a downside to getting all of these things too, and you might guess what it is. First, newer roofs, they follow stricter codes. The newer the roof, they seem to hold up better in hurricanes. Hurricane shutters. Now, there are multiple kinds of hurricane shutters. I've always heard that they all work about the same. It's ease of putting them up that is the difference. If you are going to be closer to the water and you are in AE flood zone, newer than 1975, 1976 tends to be built up a little bit. When you get into like 2015, 2016, they're built up even higher often. So the year of the home really matters. This probably leads you to the downside. To get everything mitigated, to have the hurricane shutters, a new roof, a newer house, you're going up in price. A lot of people forget price as a criteria for real estate. They kind of give their criteria and then say, well, that we want it for this price, but it really is a piece of criteria. So you might look at your list of criteria and realize we can't get it for this price. You either have to go up in price or give up some of your criteria. Now, all that being said, you might find a house that doesn't have any of it, but you could put it on if it's the right price. We are seeing that all over the place. A lot of houses have new roofs because of recent hurricanes, but if they don't, you put a new roof on. Hurricane shutters are very easy to have put on. They're not inexpensive, but there are tiers of expense involved with that. Even inside the home, I've talked about this a little before, inside the trusses of the roof, they put something in called the third nail that helps you with insurance costs. It's also supposed to help against hurricanes. That you can have put in later. I will tell you, I personally currently live in a 1989 house. When I bought it, I got a good deal on it. I put on a new roof, I put in the third nail, I put on the shutters, I did everything. It has now been through a couple of hurricanes since I bought it and since I did all of that. And I have had not one lick of damage to it. A tree fell, like a small mango tree fell, and I propped it back up and in, and that was it. Not that that is a guarantee anything can happen to any house, but this idea that you can't retrofit them or you can't survive a hurricane in that situation, not true. It is, of course, on a newer house all set up for you. I hope that helps. If you have questions or are thinking of getting out of the polar vortex this year, or even want to explain to me what the difference between polar vortex and snowmageddon are, which one's worse, which one's better, I'd love to know. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week.